Book 7. What is vice? It is what you have often seen. In every instance of it, keep in mind that you have often seen the like before. Search up and down, and you will find sameness everywhere. Among the events which fill the history of ancient, middle, and present ages, among the things of which our cities and our households are full today, nothing is new, all is familiar and fleeting. How can the great principles of life become dead if the impressions which correspond to them be not extinguished? These impressions you may still rekindle. I can always form the proper opinion of this or that, and if so, why am I disturbed? What is external to my mind is of no consequence to it. Learn this, and you stand upright. You can always renew your life. See things again as once you saw them, and your life is made new again. Your vain concern for shows, for stage plays, for flocks and herds, your little combats are as bones cast for the contention of puppies, as baits dropped into a fish pond, as the toil of ants and the burden that they bear, as the scampering of frightened mice or the antics of puppets jerked by wires. It is then your duty amid all this to stand firm, kindly and not proud, yet to understand that a man's worth is just the worth of that which he pursues. In conversation we should give good heed to what is said, and in every enterprise we should attend to what is done. In the latter case, at once look to the end in view, and in the former, note the meaning intended. Is my understanding sufficient for this business or not? If it be sufficient, I use it for the work in hand as an instrument given to me by nature. If it be not sufficient, I either give place to one better fitted for the achievement, or if for some reason this be not a proper course, I do it as best I can, taking the aid of those who, by directing my mind, can accomplish something fit and serviceable for the common good. For all that I do, whether by myself or with the help of others, should be directed solely towards what is fit and useful for the public service. How many of those who were once so mightily acclaimed are delivered up to oblivion, and how many of those who acclaimed them are dead and gone this many a day? Be not ashamed of taking assistance. It is laid upon you to do your part, as on a soldier when the wall is stormed. What then if you are lame and cannot scale the battlements alone, but can with another's help? Be not troubled about the future. You will come to it, if need be, with the same power to reason as you use upon your present business. All things are twined together in one sacred bond. Scarce is there one thing quite foreign to another. They are all ranged together, and leagued to form the same ordered whole. The universe compact of all things is one. Through all things runs one divinity. Being is one, and law, which is the reason common to all intelligent creatures. And truth is one as well, that is, if there be but one sort of perfection possible to all beings which are of the same nature and partake of the same rational power. Everything material is soon engulfed in the matter of the whole, and every active cause is swiftly resumed into the universal reason. The memory of all things is quickly buried in eternity. In the reasoning being to act according to nature is to act according to reason. Be upright either by nature or by correction. In an organic unity, bodily members play the same part as reasoning beings among separate existences, since both are fitted for one joint operation. This thought will come home to you more vividly if you say often to yourself, I am a member of the mighty organism which is made up of reasoning beings. If instead of a member you say that you are merely a part, you have not as yet attained to a heartfelt love of mankind. As yet you love not well-doing for its own sake alone, and you still perform your bare duty with no thought that you are your own benefactor by the deed. From the world without let, what will affect whatever parts are subject to such affection? Let the part which suffers complain, if it will, of the suffering. But I, if I admit not that the hap is evil, remain uninjured. Not to admit it is surely in my power. Let any one say or do what he pleases. I must be a good man. It is just as gold or emeralds or purple might say continually, Let men do or say what they please. I must be an emerald and retain my luster. The soul which rules you vexes not itself. It does not, for example, awake its own fears or arouse its own desires. If another can raise grief or terror in it, let him do so. By its own impressions it will not be led into such emotions. Let the body take thought, if it can, for itself, lest it suffer anything and complain when it suffers. The soul, by means of which we experience fear and sorrow, and by means of which indeed we receive any impression of these, will admit no suffering. You cannot force it into any such opinion. The ruling part is in itself free from all dependence, unless it makes itself dependent. Similarly, it can be free from all disturbance and obstruction, if it does not disturb and obstruct itself. To have good fortune is to have a good spirit or a good mind. What do you here, imagination? Be gone, I say. Even as you came, I have no need for you. You came, you say, after your ancient fashion. I am not angry with you, only be gone. Do you dread change? What can come without it? What can be pleasanter or more proper to the universal nature? Can you heat your bath unless wood undergoes a change? Can you be fed unless a change is wrought upon your food? Can any useful thing be done without changes? Do you not see, then, that this change also which is working in you is even such as these, and alike necessary to the nature of the universe? Through the substance of the universe, as through a torrent, all bodies are born. They are all of the same nature, and fellow workers with the whole, even as our several members are fellow workers with one another. How many a Chrysippus, how many a Socrates, how many an Epictetus hath the course of ages swallowed up? Let this thought be with you about every man and upon all occasions. For this alone I am concerned, that I do nothing that suits not the nature of man, nothing as man's nature would not have it, nothing that it wishes not yet. The time is at hand when you shall forget all things, and when all things shall forget you. It is man's special business to love even those who err, and to this love you attain if it is borne in upon you that even these sinners are your kin, and that they offend through ignorance and against their will. Remember also that in a little while both you and they must die. Remember before all things that they have not harmed you, for they have not made your soul worse than it was before. Proceeding nature from the universal substance, as from wax, now forms a horse, now breaks it up again, making of its matter a tree, afterwards a man, and again something different. Each of these shapes subsists but for a little. Yet there is nothing dreadful for the chest in being taken to pieces, any more than the formerly was in being put together. A wrathful look is completely against nature. When the countenance is often thus deformed, its beauty dies, in the end is quenched for ever, and cannot be revived again. Seek to comprehend from this very fact that it is against reason, and if the sense of moral evil be gone as well, why should a man wish to remain alive? In a little space, nature, the supreme and universal ruler, will change all things that you behold. Out of their substance she will make other things, and others again out of the substance of these, so that the universe may be ever new. Whenever someone offends you, consider straightway how he has erred in his conceptions of good or evil. When you see where his error lies, you will pity him, and be neither surprised nor angry. Indeed, you yourself perhaps still wrongly count good the same things as he does, or things just like them. Your duty then is to forgive, and if you cease from these false ideas of good and bad, you will find it the easier to grant indulgence to him who is still mistaken. Dwell not on what you lack so much as on what you have already. Select the best of what you have, and consider how passionately you would have longed for it had it not been yours. Yet be watchful, lest by this joy in what you have accustom yourself to value it too highly, so that if it should fail, you would be distressed. Retire within yourself. The reasoning power that rules you naturally finds contentment with itself in just dealing. and in the calm which such dealing brings. Blot out imagination, check the brutal impulses of the passions, confine your energies to the present time, observe clearly all that happens either to yourself or to another, divide and analyze all objects into cause and matter, take thought for your last hour, let others' sin remain where the guilt lies. Apply your mind to what is said, penetrate all happenings and the causes thereof. Rejoice yourself with simplicity, modesty, and indifference to all things that lie between good and bad. Love mankind and obey God. All things, says someone, go by law and order. But what if there be naught beyond the atoms? Even if that be so, suffice it to remember that all things, save very few, are swayed by law. Concerning death, if the universe be a concourse of atoms, death is a scattering of these. If it be an ordered unity, death is an extinction, or a translation to another state. Concerning pain, pain which cannot be borne brings us deliverance. Pain that lasts must needs be bearable. The mind can abstract itself from the body, and the soul takes no hurt. As to the parts which suffer by pain, let them, if they can, make their own protest. Concerning glory, consider the understanding of men, what they shun and what they pursue, and reflect that, as heaps of sand are driven one upon another, and the latter drifts bury and hide those that went before, so, too, in life the former ages are soon buried by the next. This from Plato. To the man who has true grandeur of mind and who contemplates all time and all being, can human life appear a great matter? Impossible, says the other. Can then such a one count death a thing of dread? No, indeed. It is the saying of Antisthenes, that it is the part of a king to do good and reap reproach. It is a shameful thing that the countenance should obey the mind, should compose and order itself as the mind bids it, while the mind cannot compose and order itself as it wills. Vain is all anger at external things, for they regard it nothing. Give joy to us and the immortal gods, for life is like the laden ear cut down, and some must fall and some unreaped remain. Me and my children, if the gods neglect, it is for some good reason. For I keep right and justice on my side. Weep not with them and still these throbs of woe. From Plato. I would make him this just answer. You are mistaken, my friend, to think that a man of any worth should count these chances of living and dying. Should he not rather, in all he does, consider simply whether he is acting justly or unjustly, whether he is playing the part of a good man or a bad? He says again, in truth, Athenians, the matter stands thus. Wheresoever a man has chosen his stand, judging it the fittest for him, or wheresoever is he stationed by his commander, there I think he should stay at all hazards, make no account of death or any other evil but dishonour. Again, consider, my friend, whether the truly noble and the truly good be not something quite apart from saving and being saved. The man who is a man indeed should not set his heart on living through a few more years of life, nor should he make that the end of his desire. Rather he should commit the matter to the will of God, assenting to the maxim which even women use that no man can elude his destiny, and studying in addition how he may spend the life that remains to him for the best. Contemplate the courses of the stars as one should do that revolves along with them. Consider also without ceasing the changes of elements, one into another. Speculations upon such things cleanse away the filth of this earthly life. It is a good thought of Plato's that when we discourse of men we should look down as from a high place, on all things earthly, on herds and armies, on husbandry and marriage, on partings, births and deaths, on the tumults of the courts of justice, on the desert places of the earth, on the varied spectacle of savage nations, on the feasting and lamentation, on traffic, on the medley of all things, and the order which emerges from their contrariety. Consider the past and the revolutions of so many empires, and thence you may foresee what shall happen hereafter. It will be ever the same in all things, nor can events leave the rhythm in which they are now moving. Wherefore it is much the same to view human life for 40 as for a myriad of years. What more is there to see? To earth returns whatever sprang from earth, but what's of heavenly seeds remounts to heaven. This imports either the losing of a knot of atoms or a similar dispersion of immutable elements. By meats and drinks and charms and magic arts, death's course they would divert and thus escape. The gale that blows from God we must endure, toiling but not repining. He is a better wrestler than you, but not more public-spirited, more modest, or better prepared for the accidents of fate, not more gentle towards the shortcomings of his neighbours. Wherever we can act comfortably to the reason which is common to gods and men, there we will have nothing to dread. Where we can profit by prosperous activity which proceeds in agreement with the constitution of our nature, we need suspect no harm. In all places and at all times you may devoutly accept your present fortune, and deal in justice with your present company. You may take pain to understand all arising imaginations, that none may steal upon you before you comprehend them. Pry not into the souls of others, but rather look straight to the goal whither nature is leading you, whither the nature of the universe by external events, and whither your own nature by the tendency of your own action. Each being must perform the part for which it was created. Now all other beings are created for the sake of those among them which have reason, as all lower things exist for the sake of things superior to them, and reasoning beings were created for one another. The leading principle in man's nature, then, is the social spirit, and the second is the victory over the solicitations of the body. For it is proper to the workings of reason to set bounds to themselves, and never to be overpowered by the calls of sense or by the stirrings of passion, both of which are animal in their nature. The intellect claims to reign over these and never to be subjected to them, and rightly, because it is equipped to command and use all the lower powers. The third element in the constitution of a reasoning being is caution against rashness and error. Let the soul go forth straight upon her way in the possession of these principles, and she stands seized of her full estate. Consider yourself as dead, your life is finished and past. Live what yet remains according to nature's law, as an overplus granted to you beyond your hope. Love that only which is your hap, which comes upon you as your part in fate's great spinning. What indeed can fit you better? Upon every accident keep in view those whom the like has happened. They stormed at the event, wandered and complained, but now where are they? They are gone forever. Why should you act the like part? Leave these unnatural commotions to fickle men, who change and are changed. Yourself take thought of how you may make good use of such events. Good use for them there is. They will make matter for good actions. Let it be your sole effort and desire to gain your own approval in every action, and remember that the material objects of both that effort and of that desire are things indifferent. Look inward, within is the fountain of good. Dig constantly, and it will ever well forth. Keep the body steady, without irregularity, whether in its motions or in its postures. For as the soul shews itself in the countenance by a wise and graceful air, it should require the same expressive power of the whole body. But all this must be practised without affectation. The art of life is more like that of the wrestler than of the dancer, for the wrestler must always be ready on his guard, and stand firm against the sudden, unforeseen efforts of his adversary. Consider constantly what manner of men they are whose approbation you desire, and what may be the character of their souls. Then you will neither accuse such as err unwillingly, nor need their commendation when you look into the springs of their opinions and their desires. Every soul, says Plato, parts unwillingly with the truth. You may say the same of justice, temperance, good nature, and every virtue. It is most necessary to keep this ever in mind. For if you do, you will be more kindly towards all men. In all pain, keep in mind that there is no baseness in it. It cannot harm the soul which guides you, nor destroy that soul as a reasoning or as a social force. In most pain you may find help in the saying of Epicurus, that pain is neither unbearable nor everlasting, if you bear in mind its narrow limits and allow no additions from your imagination. Remember that also we are fretted, though we see it not, by many things which are of the same nature as pain, things such as drowsiness, excessive heat, want of appetite. When any of these things annoy you, say to yourself that you are giving in to pain. Look to it that you feel not towards the most inhuman of mankind, as they feel towards their fellows. Whence do we conclude that Teleges had not a brighter genius than Socrates? 'Tis not enough that Socrates died more gloriously, or argued more acutely with the sophists, or that he kept watch more patiently through a frosty night, or because, when ordered to arrest the innocent Salaminian, he judged it more noble to disobey, or because of any stately airs and graces he assumed in public, in which we may very justly refuse to believe. But assuming all this true, when we consider Socrates, we must ask what manner of soul he had. Could he find contentment in acting with justice towards men, and with piety towards the gods, neither vainly provoked by the vices of others, nor servilely flattering them in their ignorance, counting nothing strange that the ruler of the universe appointed, not sinking under anything as intolerable, and never yielding up his soul in surrender to the passions of the flesh? Nature has not so blended the soul with the body that it cannot fix its own bounds, and execute its own office by itself. It is very possible to be a god among men, and yet be recognized by none. Remember that always, and this as well, that happiness of life lies in very few things. And though you despair of becoming great in logic or in science, you need not despair of becoming a free man, full of modesty and unselfishness, and of obedience unto God. It is in your power to live superior to all violence, and in the greatest calm of mind. Were all men to rail against you as they pleased, and though wild beasts were to tear asunder the wretched members of this fleshly mass which has grown with your growth, what is to hinder the soul amid all this form preserving itself in all tranquillity, in just judgments about surrounding things, and in ready use of whatever is cast in its way? Judgment may say to accident, your real nature is this or that, though you appear otherwise in the eyes of men. Use may say to circumstance, I was looking for you. To me all that is present is ever matter for rational and social virtue, in sum, for that art which is proper to both man and God. All that befalls is fit and familiar for the purpose of God or man. Nothing is either new or intractable, but everything is well known and fit to work upon. It is the perfection of morals to spend each day as if it were the last of life, without excitement, without sloth, and without hypocrisy. The gods, who are immortal, are not vexed in that in a long eternity they must ever bear with the wickedness and the multitude of sinners. Nay, they even lavish on them all manner of loving care. But you, who are presently to cease from being, can forsooth endure no more, though you are one of the sinners yourself. It is ridiculous that you flee not from the vice that is in yourself, as you have it in your power to do, but are still striving to flee from the vice in others, which you can never do. Whatever the rational and social faculty finds fit neither for rational nor for social ends, it justly ranks as inferior to itself. When you have done a kind action, another has benefited. Why do you, like the fools, require some third thing in addition? A reputation for benevolence, or a return for it? No man wearies of what brings him gain, and your gain lies in acting according to nature. Be not weary, therefore, of gaining by the act which gives others gain. Nature is set about making an ordered universe, and now either all that is follows a law of necessary consequence and connection, or we must admit that there is least rationality in the things which are most excellent, and which appear to be most special objects for the impulses of the universal mind. Remembrance of this will give you calmness on many an occasion. End of the 7th book.
Book 8. For repressing vainglory, it serves to remember that it is no longer in your power to make your whole life, even from your youth onwards, a life worthy of a philosopher. It is known to many, and you yourself know also, how far you are from wisdom. Confusion is upon you, and it now can be no easy matter for you to gain the reputation of a philosopher. The conditions of your life are against it. Now, therefore, as you see how the matter truly lies, put from you all thoughts of reputation among men, and let it suffice you to live so long as your nature wills, though that may be but a scanty remnant of a life. Study, therefore, the will of your nature, and be solicitous about nothing else. You've made many efforts and wandered much, but you have nowhere found happiness, not in syllogisms, not in riches, not in fame or pleasure, not in anything. Where then is it? In acting that part which human nature requires. How can you act that part? By holding principles as the source of your desires and actions. What principles? The principles of good and evil. That nothing is good for a man which does not make him just, temperate, courageous, and free, and that nothing can be evil which tends not to make him the contrary of all these. Upon every action, ask yourself, what is the effect of this for me? Shall I never repent of it? I shall presently be dead, and all these things gone. What more should I desire if my present action is becoming to an intelligent and social being, subject to the same law with God's? Alexander, Caesar, Pompey, what were they compared with Diogenes, Heraclitus, Socrates? These knew the nature of things, their causes, and their matter, and the minds within them were at one. As to the former, how many things they schemed for, and to how many were they enslaved? Men will go their own ways nonetheless, though you burst in protest. Before all things, be not perturbed. Everything comes to pass as directed by universal nature, and in a little time you will be departed and gone, like Hadrianus and Augustus. Then scan closely the nature of what has befallen, remembering that it is your duty to be a good man. Do unflinchingly whatever man's nature requires, and speak as seems most just, yet in kindliness, modesty, and sincerity. It is nature's work to transfer what is now here into another place, to change things, to carry them hence and set them elsewhere. All is change, yet is there no need to fear innovation, for all obey the laws of custom, and in equal measure all things are apportioned. For every nature it is sufficient that it goes on its way and prospers. The rational nature prospers while it assents to no false or uncertain opinion, while it directs its impulses to unselfish ends alone, while it aims its desires and aversions only to things within its power, and while it welcomes with contentment all that universal nature ordains. The nature of each of us is part of universal nature. As the leaf is part of the tree, the leaf, indeed, is part of an insensible and unreasoning system, which can be obstructed in its workings, but human nature is part of that universal system, which cannot be impeded, and which is intelligent and just. Hence is meted out suitably to all, our proper portions of time, of matter, of active principle, of powers, and of events. Yet look not to find that each several thing corresponds exactly with any other. Consider rather the whole nature and circumstances of the one, and compare them with the whole of the other. You lack leisure for reading, but leisure to repress all insolence you do not lack. You have leisure to keep yourself superior to pleasure and pain and vainglory, to restrain all anger against the ungrateful, nay, even to lavish loving care upon them. Let no man any more hear you railing on the life of the court, nay, revile it not to your own hearing. Repentance is self-reproving, because we have neglected something useful. Whatever is good must be useful in some sort, and worthy of the care of a good and honorable man. Now, such a man could never repent of neglecting some opportunity of pleasure. Pleasure, then, is neither useful nor good. Of each thing ask, what is this in itself and by its constitution? What is its substance or matter? What is its cause? What is its business in the universe? How long shall it endure? When you are reluctant to be roused from sleep, remember that it accords with your constitution and with human nature to perform social actions. Sleep is common to us with the brutes. Now whatever accords with
The nature of each species.
must be most proper, most fitting, and most delightful to it. Constantly, and if possible, on every occasion, apply to your imaginations the methods of physics, ethics, and dialectic. Whomsoever you meet, say straightway to yourself, what are this man's principles of good and evil? For if he holds this or that doctrine concerning pleasure and pain, and the causes thereof concerning glory and infamy, death and life, it will seem to me neither strange nor wondrous that this or that should be his conduct. I shall bear in mind that he has no choice but to act so. Remember that, as 'tis folly to be surprised that a fig tree bears figs, so is it equal folly to be surprised that the universe produces those things of which it was ever fruitful. It is folly in a physician to be surprised that a man has fallen into a fever, or in a pilot that the wind has turned against him. Remember that to change your course and to follow any man who can set you right is no compromise to your freedom. The act is your own, performed on your own impulse and judgment, and according to your own understanding. If the doing of this be in your own power, why do it thus? If it be in another's, whom do you accuse? The atoms or the gods? To accuse either is a piece of madness. Therefore, accuse no one. Set right, if you can, the cause of error. If you cannot, correct the result at least. If even that be impossible, what purpose can your accusations serve? Nothing should be done without a purpose. That which dies falls not out of the universe. If then, it stays here. Here too it suffers a change, and is resolved into those elements of which the world and you too consist. These also are changed, and murmur not. The horse, the vine, all things are formed for some purpose. Where is the wonder? Even the sun saved. I was formed for a certain work, and similarly the other gods. For what end are you formed? For pleasure? Look if your soul can endure this thought. Nature has an aim in all things in the end, and surcease of them no less than in their beginning and continuance. It is even as a man casting a ball. Where then is the good for the ball in its rising? Where the harm in its dropping? Where even is the harm when it is fallen down? Where is the bubble's good while it holds together? Where is the evil when it's broken? So it is with the lamp which now burns and anon goes out. Turn out the inner side of this body and view it as it is. What shall it become when it grows old, or sickly, or decayed? The praiser and the praised, the rememberer and the remembered, are of short continuance, and that in a mere corner of this narrow region where, narrow though it be, men cannot live in concord, no, not even with themselves, and yet the whole world is but a point. Attend well to what is before you, whether it be a principle, an act, or a word. This, your suffering, is well merited, for you would rather become good tomorrow than good today. Am I doing aught? Let me do it in a spirit of service to mankind. Does aught befall me? I accept it and refer it to the gods, the universal source from which come all things in the chain of consequence. The accompaniments of bathing, oil, sweat, filth, foul water, how nauseous are they all? Even so is every part of life, and everything that meets us. Lucilla buried Verus, and soon followed him to the grave. Secundus saw the death of Maximus, and soon herself died. Epitynchanus buried Diotimus, and then Epitynchanus was buried. Antoninus mourned Faustina, and thereafter Antoninus was mourned. Celer buried Hadrian, and then Celer was buried. All go the same way. The cunning men who foretold the fates of others, or who swell with pride, where are they now? Where are these keen wits? Charax and Demetrius the Platonist, and Eudaimon and their like. All were for a day, and are long dead and gone. Some scarce remembered even for a little after death. Some turned to fables, some faded even from the memory of tales. Wherefore remember this: either the poor mixture which is you must be dispersed, or the faint breath of life must be quenched or removed and brought into another place. The joy of man is to do his proper business, and his proper business is to be kindly to his fellows, to rise above the stirrings of sense, to be critical of every plausible imagination, and to contemplate universal nature and all her consequences. We have all of us three relations. The first, to the manifold occasions of our state. The second, to the supreme divine cause from which proceed all things unto all men. The third, to those with whom we live. Pain is either an evil to the body, and then let the body so declare it, or an evil to the soul. But the soul can maintain her own serenity and calm, and refuse to conceive pain as an evil. All judgment, intention, desire, and aversion are within the soul, to which no evil can ascend. Blot out false imaginations, and say often to yourself, "It is now in my power to preserve my soul free from all wickedness, all lust, all confusion or disturbance. And then, as I truly discern the nature of things, I can use them all in due proportion." Be ever mindful of this power which nature has given you. Speak, whether in the Senate or elsewhere, with dignity rather than elegance, and let your words ever be sound and virtuous. The court of Augustus, his wife, his daughter, his descendants, and his ancestors, his sister, and Agrippa, his kinsmen, familiars, and friends, Arius and Maecenas, his physicians, and his flamens. Death has them all. Think next of the death of a whole house, such as Pompey's, and of what we meet sometimes inscribed on tombs. He was the last of his race. Last of all, consider the solicitude of the ancestors of such men to leave a succession of their own posterity. Yet, at the end, one must come the last, and with him dies all that house. Order your life in its single acts, so that if each, as far as may be, attains its end, it will suffice. In this no one can hinder you. But you say, "May not something external withstand me?" Nothing can keep you from justice, temperance, and wisdom. Yet perhaps some other activity of mine may be obstructed. True, but by yielding to this impediment, and by turning with calmness to that which is in your power, you may happen on another course of action equally suited to the ordered life of which we are speaking. Receive the gifts of fortune without pride, and part with them without reluctance. You have seen a hand, a foot, or a head cut off from the rest of the body, and lying dead at a distance from it. Even such as these does he make himself, so far as he can, who repines at what befalls, who severs himself from his fellow men, or who does any selfish deed. Are you cast forth from the natural unity? Nature made you to be a part of the whole, but you have cut yourself off from it. Yet here there is a glorious provision that you may reunite yourself if you will. In no other case has God granted you the privilege of reunion to a separate or severed part. Yet behold the goodness and bounty with which God hath honored mankind. He first puts it in their power not to be severed from this unity, and then, even when they are thus severed, he suffers them to return once more, to take their places as parts of the whole, and to grow one with it again. Universal nature, as she has imparted to each rational being almost all its faculties and powers, has given to us this one in particular among them. As nature converts to her use, ranges in destined order, and makes part of herself all that withstands or opposes her, so each rational being can make every impediment in his way a proper matter for himself to act upon, and can use it for his guiding purpose, whatever it may be. Do not confound yourself by considering the whole of life, and by dwelling upon the multitude of greatness of the pains and troubles to which you may probably be exposed. As each presents itself, ask yourself, is there anything intolerable and insufferable in this? You will be ashamed to own it. And then recollect that it is neither the past nor the future that can oppress you, but always the present only. And the ills of the present will be much diminished if you restrict it within its own proper bounds, and take your soul to task if it cannot bear up even against this one thing. Does Panthea or Pergamus now sit mourning at the tomb of Varus? Or Chabrias or Diotimus at the tomb of Hadrian? Absurd! And if they were still mourning, could their masters be sensible of it? Or if they were sensible of it, would it give them any pleasure? Or if they were pleased, could the mourners live forever? Was it not fate that they should grow old men and women and then die? What, then, would become of the illustrious dead when these faithful souls were gone? And all this toil for a vile body, naught but blood and corruption. If you have keen sight, says the philosopher, use it in discretion and in wisdom. In the constitution of the rational being, I discern no virtue made to restrain justice, but I see continence made to restrain sensual pleasure. Take away your opinion about the things that seem to give you pain, and you stand yourself upon the surest ground. What is that self? It is reason. I am not reason, you say. So be it. Then let not reason pain itself, but leave any part of you which suffers to its own opinions of the pain. Obstruction of any sense is an evil for the animal nature. So is the obstruction of any of its impulses. There are other kinds of obstruction which are evil for the nature of plants, for the rational nature in like manner. Therefore, obstruction of the understanding is evil. Apply all this to yourself. Do pain and pleasure affect you? Let the senses look to it. Does anything hinder your designs? If you have designed without the proper reservation, that in itself is an evil for you as a reasoning being. If you designed under the general reservation, you are neither hurt nor hindered. No man can hinder from the proper work of the mind. Nor fire, nor sword, nor tyrant, nor calumny can reach it, nor any other thing, when it has become even as a sphere, complete and perfect within itself. I have no right to vex myself, who never yet willingly vexed anyone. Each man has his own pleasure. Mine lies in having my ruling part sound, without aversion to any man, or to any hap that may befall mankind. Yet let me look on all things with kindly eyes. Let me accept and use them all according to their worth. See that you secure the benefit of the present time. They who pursue a fame which is to live after them, reflect not that posterity will be men even as are those who vex them now, and that they too will be mortal. And afterwards, what shall signify to you the clatter of their voices, or the opinions they shall entertain about you? Take me up and cast me where you will. I shall have my own divinity within me serene, that is, satisfied, while its every state and action is according to the law of its proper constitution. Is any event of such account that my soul should suffer for it or be the worse? That my soul should become abject and prostrate as a mean suppliant, or should I be affrighted? Shall you find anything that is worth all this? Nothing can befall a man which is not human fortune. Nothing can happen to an ox, to a vine, or to a stone, which is not the natural destiny of their species. If then, that alone can befall anything which is usual and natural, what cause is there for indignation? Universal nature hath brought nothing upon you which you cannot bear. When you are grieved about anything external, it is not the thing itself which afflicts you, but your judgment about it. This judgment it is in your power to efface. If you are grieved about anything in your own disposition, who can prevent you from correcting your principles of life? If you are grieved because you do not set about some work which seems to you sound and virtuous, go about it effectually, rather than grieve that it is undone. But some superior force withstands, then grieve not, for the fault of the omission lies not in you. You say, but life is not worth living with this undone. Quit life then, in the same kindly spirit as though you had done it, and with good will even to those who withstand you. Remember that the governing part becomes invincible when, collected into itself, it is satisfied in refusing to do what it would not, even when its resistance is unreasonable. What then will it be, after due deliberation? It has fixed its judgment according to reason. The soul, thus free from passions, is a strong fort, nor can a man find any stronger to which he can fly and become henceforth invincible. The man who has not discerned this is ignorant. He who has discerned this and flies not thither is miserable. Pronounce no more to yourself than what appearances directly declare. It is told to you that so-and-so has spoken ill of you. This alone is told you, and not that you are hurt. I see my child is sick. This alone I see. I do not see that he's in danger. Dwell thus upon first appearances. Add nothing to them from within, and no harm befalls you. Or rather, add the recognition that all is a part of the world's lot. Is the gourd bitter? Put it from you. Are there thorns in the way? Walk aside. That is enough. Do not add, why were such things brought into the world? The naturalist would laugh at you, just as would a carpenter or a shoemaker, if you began fault-finding because you saw shavings and parings from their work strewn about the workshop. These craftsmen have places where they can throw away this rubbish, but universal nature has no such place outside her sphere. Yet the wonder of her art is that, having confined herself within certain bounds, she transforms into herself all things within her scope which seem to be corrupting or waxing old and useless, and out of them she makes other new forms, so that she neither needs matter from without, nor place where to cast out her refuse. She is satisfied with her own space, her own material, and her own art. Be not languid in action, nor confused in conversation, nor vague in your opinions. Let there be no sudden contractions or forth sallyings of your soul. In your life be not overhurried. Men slay you, cut you to pieces, pursue you with curses. What has this to do with your soul remaining pure, prudent, temperate, and just? What if someone, standing by a clear, sweet fountain, should reproach it? It would not cease to send forth its refreshing waters. Should he throw into it mud or dung, it will speedily scatter them and wash them away, and be in no wise stained thereby. How then shall you get this perpetual living fount within you? If you reserve yourself unto liberty every hour you live, in a spirit of calmness, simplicity, and modesty. He who knows not what the universe is, knows not what is his place therein. He who knows not for what end it was created, knows not himself, and knows not the world. He who is deficient in either of these parts of knowledge could not even say for what end he himself was created. What sort of man, then, does he appear to you, who pursues the applause, or dreads the anger, of those who know neither where nor what they are? Do you wish to be praised by a man who curses himself thrice within an hour? Can you desire to please one who is not pleased with himself? Can he be pleased with himself who repents of almost everything he does? No longer be content to breathe in harmony with the air which surrounds you, but set about feeling in sympathy with the intelligence which embraces all things. For the power of that intelligence is no less diffused and no less pervasive for all who can draw it in, than it is the virtue of the air for him who can breathe it. There is no universal wickedness to hurt the world, and the particular wickedness of any individual hurts not another. It hurts himself alone. And even he has this gracious privilege that, as soon as he desires it, he may be free from it altogether. To my will, the will of another is as indifferent as his poor breath and flesh. And how much soever we were formed for the sake of each other, yet the governing part of each of us has its own proper power. Otherwise, the vice of another might become my own misery. God thought fit that this should not be, lest it should be in another's power to make me unhappy. The sun seems to us diffused everywhere, pervasive of all things, yet never exhausted. This diffusion is a sort of extension, and hence the Greek word for rays is thought to be derived. You may observe the nature of a ray if you see it entering through some small hole into a darkened chamber. Its direction is straight, and it is reflected around when it falls upon any solid body, which shuts it off from the air beyond. There it stands, and does not slip or fall. Now such should be the flow and diffusion of the understanding, never exhausted, always extending, not violently or furiously dashing against the obstacles that meet it, nor falling aside, but resting there, and illuminating whatever will receive it. That which will not transmit the light does but deprive itself of radiance. He who dreads death dreads either the extinction of all sense or the experience of a new one. If all sense be extinguished, there can be no sense of evil. If a different sort of sense be acquired, you become a different creature and do not cease to live. Men were created the one for the other. Teach them better then, or bear with them. Mind moves in one way, and an arrow in another. The mind, when cautiously proceeding, or when casting round in deliberation about what to pursue, is nevertheless carried onward, straight towards its proper mark. Penetrate into the governing part of others, and also allow others to enter into your own. End of Book 8.